Tonight, concerns over the health of Pope Francis, his condition described as critical. The faithful gather as the pontiff battles pneumonia in both his lungs.
I'm literally worried about his state of health.
What the Vatican is saying about his prognosis.
You don't deal just with the pneumonia, you deal with all the complications that result from the pneumonia.
Intimate photos posted online. What's behind the growing cybersecurity crime?
I was naked, but it was AI.
And a rare but rising bacterial infection.
I've been given a second chance on life, so I'm fixating on that.
An Ottawa man shares his harrowing story of flesh-eating disease.
We have seen a rise in one of the infections that can lead to this clinical syndrome.
And a hockey lover's paradise.
The ice is great. The best pond I've ever skated on is here in Plaster Rock.
A timely tradition as the puck drops at the World Pond Hockey Championships.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. We're following major news from the Vatican tonight, with Pope Francis now listed in critical condition. The leader of 1.3 billion Catholics worldwide has been battling double pneumonia. And today, the Vatican said his health had deteriorated, requiring supplemental oxygen and blood transfusions. The announcement late Saturday that the Pope's condition had worsened prompted even more concern from the faithful, who gathered outside the hospital where he is being treated. Catholics worldwide joined in prayer, including in his homeland of Argentina.
I'm literally worried about his state of health, literally, and I'm just being worried about his health, and I hope he will recover.
The Vatican said the 88-year-old had suffered a prolonged asthma-like respiratory crisis this morning that had required the administration of high-flow oxygen. Hospitalized for more than a week with a complex lung infection, the Vatican said he also received blood transfusions for a condition associated with anemia, adding the Holy Father remains alert and has spent the day in a chair, though he is more unwell than yesterday. At the moment, the prognosis remains guarded. Infectious diseases experts say the treatment can be trickier for elderly patients.
In some respects, treating a pneumonia is very straightforward. It's a bacterial infection. You give the patient antibiotics. The challenge is always monitoring the patient and dealing with complications as they happen.
For more on the Pope's health, we turn to Jerry O'Connell, CTV's Vatican analyst. Jerry, what are you hearing from Vatican officials late tonight?
Well, I hear that there's a lot of concern, much more than there was yesterday. The situation has changed rather dramatically today, very quickly. They now are watching how he will pull through the night. As we talk, he is sleeping in the 10th floor of the Gemelli Hospital. Everybody wants to see in 6-7 hours what we will find. Will he have pulled through? Will he be having breakfast, or what will the situation be? So there's a lot of, I would say, concern, some tension. He's much loved, and also right across Rome, there are people praying now. Tonight in St. Peter's Basilica, many people outside the hospital, there are people praying.
You've covered the Vatican for more than 30 years, Jerry. What does it mean to see such a significant statement released?
Well, I was a bit surprised. I've known Pope Francis for more than 20 years. So it was emotional to hear this statement that he had difficulty breathing, to know that he had a real crisis in breathing, which involved high flow oxygen and transfusions. That was really, I think, rather upsetting.
Any insight, Jerry, into what's happening behind closed doors tonight?
Well, I know people are praying that he pulls through tonight and that tomorrow we will have a brighter picture.
All right, Jerry, thank you for joining us tonight. Pope Francis has long called for negotiations to end the war in Ukraine, set to mark 3 years since the Russian invasion. President Volodymyr Zelensky is urging his allies for more support after a week of growing tensions with the U.S. CTV's Colton Prale reports.
Almost 3 years to the day since Russia invaded Ukraine. The country is fighting for its existence. But now Ukraine is facing a new threat, a political 180 from its biggest financial backer.
So we're asking for rare earth and oil, anything we can get.
This week, Donald Trump called President Volodymyr Zelensky a dictator who started the war, while the U.S. held peace talks with Russia, excluding Ukraine, and demanded $500 billion worth of Ukraine's mineral rights as repayment for American aid, a deal Trump says is close to being signed.
I want them to give us something for all of the money that we put up, and I'm going to try and get the war settled, and I'm going to try and get all that death ended.
Tonight, Zelensky didn't address the mineral deal, instead highlighting talks with European allies and working to ensure both Ukraine and Europe have a seat at any negotiations.
Nothing that anybody's done thus far has been enough to help Ukraine win. We're helping them survive. They have not lost, but we haven't seen Ukraine be able to win against Russia, and that's the critical thing here.
For this Canadian who's been a part of multiple humanitarian trips to Ukraine, the shift in American support is a significant concern.
We've got to give them support. We've got to give them some help. We have to stand with them, and that's the part that really is upsetting when I see what's going on south of the border.
Meanwhile, Russia's deputy foreign minister says preparations are now underway for a possible face-to-face meeting between Trump and Vladimir Putin in the coming weeks.
Today, Justin Trudeau spoke with Donald Trump over the phone about the war in Ukraine. The Prime Minister's office wouldn't say whether Trudeau criticized Trump's financial asks or if he pushed the U.S. president for more support for Ukraine. Heather.
CTV's Colton Prale in Ottawa. President Donald Trump addressed a crowd of supporters at a Conservative conference in Maryland, where he once again repeated his tariff threat.
I'm not happy with Mexico, or I'm not happy with Canada either. I imposed 25% tariffs on all foreign steel and aluminum, and I will soon impose reciprocal tariffs on any country that charges us.
Trump's threat of a 25% tariff on most Canadian imports could come into effect as soon as March 4th. And Trump's address follows a major shakeup in the leadership ranks of the American military. The United States top officer, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was abruptly fired without explanation, along with several high-ranking Navy and Air Force officials. A bold new billboard billing Canada as the 51st state is reigniting patriotism in the West. Here's CTV's Alicia Fieldberg on the strong reactions.
A new billboard along the main highway between Calgary and Edmonton is attracting a lot of attention.
It's a slap in the face for anybody in Alberta. I think if anything else, it should be taken down and burned.
The message encourages Albertans to lobby the Premier to join the USA. Many people in the nearby town of Bowden aren't convinced.
I'm a Canadian. I'm going to stay in Canada.
I mean, people have the right to say what they want to say. But as far as him coming into Canada and trying to take Canada, I mean, that's not going to happen.
And anybody that even thought that would give him permission to do that are pretty darn stupid.
Town Hall has been taking a lot of heat from people across the country, even though the community of 1,200 people has nothing to do with it.
People are entitled to their opinion, but you got to look at the facts. I have my personal opinions. I watched that hockey game last night, cheering for Canada.
The province isn't behind it either. Danielle Smith's office releasing a statement touting Canada's sovereignty and the importance of a strong trade relationship with our friends and allies in the United States. The business that paid for the ad used to run Wexit, an organization which took a page from Brexit and hoped to apply it to Western Canada. But now it has shifted its goal.
Well, if Ottawa wants to say that oil and gas tariffs, export tariffs and export bans are on the table, well then we're saying becoming the 51st state is on the table.
This sign has prompted the addition of a second sign, a small yellow one on the private property below it, which says this sign is not ours and we have no control over the contents. The owner of this property says he has had many threatening phone calls and emails and has contacted RCMP and his insurance company. He says the business that owns the billboard has been threatened as well. CTV contacted Spot Ads about its policies but did not receive a response. American Funds says the ad they paid for will be up for about a month.
This is Canada. This is our country.
Canada's great. Period.
Alicia Fieldberg, CTV News, Bowden.
Looming tariff threats also means Canada is looking to strengthen already existing trade relationships with other countries, including the UK.
The overall economic relationship is worth about $500 billion. About 10% of that is two-way trade. The UK is a reliable partner. Canada is a reliable partner, and we do some excellent business together.
Trade between the two nations is governed under the Canada-United Kingdom Trade Continuity Agreement that came into effect in 2021. An emotional day in Israel as 6 hostages were released by Hamas and reunited with their families. It's the latest exchange between the militant group and Israel in a ceasefire deal that has paused the war in Gaza. In return, Israel agreed to free more than 600 Palestinian prisoners, but now says it's postponing the handover until the release of more Israeli hostages is arranged. A frightening roof collapse of a shopping mall in Peru has killed at least 6 people and injured dozens more, some in critical condition. Rescuers rushed to find survivors under the rubble inside the food court. Authorities believe rain and humidity weakened the roof, which caused it to cave in. A stark warning about the devastating realities of a rare but rising bacterial infection. Tragic cases of flesh-eating disease are becoming more common in this country. Tonight, an Ottawa man shares his harrowing ordeal that led to an amputation. CTV's Jeremy Sharon has his story.
This is Gilles Andreville's new reality.
I can meet you. It's going to take me a little while to get there because I'm literally in a wheelchair.
Day one back in his apartment, adapting and adjusting to life as an amputee, making necessary changes to his home after a life-changing hospital visit.
It happens so fast from, oh, it's just an infection, to, oh, I'm getting amputated.
A scary scenario Landreville quickly faced at the hospital a month ago. What started as a small cut on his foot just days earlier had become necrotizing fasciitis, so-called flesh-eating disease. He was rushed into surgery.
Within half hour, 45 minutes, I was wheeled up. I was warned. I'm looking at least amputation of my foot, and depending on how quickly or how far spread it was, they would keep on cutting until they were done.
A terrifying outcome from a rare but rising bacterial infection in Canada.
We have seen a rise in one of the infections that can lead to this clinical syndrome, and that infection is called Group A streptococcus.
Why that is, infectious diseases physician Dr. Isaac Bogosh says isn't yet clear, though treatment for it is.
You need surgery, and the area that's impacted, the tissue that's impacted, has to be surgically excised, and it has to be done so on a rapid basis. Otherwise, it's going to continue to spread.
Landreville lives with the reality that time likely impacted his outcome. He waited days before getting help.
How could I be so pig-headed and stubborn to not go and seek help?
But he's choosing to focus instead on how much worse it could have been if he waited any longer.
I've been given a second chance on life, so I'm fixating on that to keep me positive and trying to keep me going and take advantage of this second chance.
His message, don't wait. Doctors say time is everything with this disease. Watch for a rapidly spreading skin infection, serious pain, and a fever. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, Ottawa.
Coming up, victims of digital deception.
I felt kind of degraded, like why me?
The truth about the very real pain caused by deep fake images. The RCMP in Saskatchewan are investigating a disturbing trend of intimate images of women being shared without their consent. The photos are being circulated and altered by artificial intelligence. CTV's Alison Bamford reports.
I have no idea whose camera roll has what, and it's terrifying.
Alexis Curry says she's never sent an intimate photo of herself to anyone, but somehow one allegedly ended up in an online chat group on a social media platform called Discord.
I was naked, but it was AI.
She says a photo of her in a swimsuit was taken from social media and digitally altered.
It's almost like Pokemon. They're like, do you have this girl? This is her full name. And they were just trading these images, fake or real.
Even if you have a single image of your face on the internet, you could be a victim.
University professor Alec Kuros says it's becoming easier to alter a photo known as a deep fake. It took him just minutes to put my face on a GIF of Taylor Swift.
But, rather than something kind of friendly like this, I can take something that is not so appropriate.
Saskatchewan police are now investigating several reports of intimate photos being shared online without consent. Tara Hodgson says her name came up in a Discord chat, but fortunately, photos of her haven't surfaced.
I felt kind of degraded, like why me? Why my name?
Earlier this month, Thunder Bay police charged 12 people after a separate but similar investigation into online chat rooms. Police identified 117 victims from across Canada, the United States, UK, and Australia, all with ties to Thunder Bay.
I know that there are continuously more rooms popping up.
A fear for some Saskatchewan victims that the perpetrators will go elsewhere to share the content.
I think what's really going to stop it is when we actually hold these men accountable.
Police in Saskatchewan say the chat room has been taken down, but no charges have been laid. So far, no one under the age of 18 has been identified as a victim. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Still ahead, sweeping away adversity. We'll introduce you to a young curler from New Brunswick who's a champion both on and off the ice. The first amputee curler in Canadian history to compete at a national curling event is making an inspiring impact. Carly Smith has conquered obstacles her whole life, all for the sport she loves. Here's CTV's Sarah Plowman.
Carly Smith is unfazed by a challenge. More likely, she leans in. The curler has been problem-solving her whole life.
I was born missing my left arm above the elbow, so I'm a congenital amputee. So basically it just stopped growing in the womb.
Still, she never felt limited, never pitied or doubted herself. From a young age, Smith's family reinforced this.
My parents have always been like my #1 supporters, and they never really questioned anything or never told me that I couldn't do anything.
Like any athlete, she loves to compete. She played soccer, but has turned her focus to curling, a passion she picked up at 7 and went on to make history.
I was the first first amputee in Canadian history to compete at a national curling event.
Wow.
When I was 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
It's my proudest accomplishment.
Ask her University of New Brunswick teammates and they'll praise Smith's throws, communication, and competitiveness, but her secret weapon might be her attitude.
She's just always so positive, and she has the really the I can do anything attitude, and it's really just really inspiring.
Off the ice too, like at this limb clinic where Smith's been a patient since she was a baby. Occupational therapist Wendy Hill has helped her since.
Some things were more of a challenge for her, but she's always found a way to overcome those challenges.
For a long time, Smith swept the ice by tucking her broom into her armpit.
I was getting a lot of chafing from sweeping so much, and also didn't have enough weight on the broom to create the friction needed to sweep a rock.
Then came the aha moment. Design a prosthesis specific to her broom. It was a success. Since joining UNB, the clinic built another prosthesis, this one to latch onto her stabilizer. It was the first of its kind.
We wanted it to be so seamless for her to use. We wanted it to be reliable, something that she trusted, and something that it was the last thing she thought about when she was trying to play a curling match.
The addition has paid off.
My favorite thing is that it's so quick, because in curling you're timed and you need to be on the ball super quick, and the transition is less than 10 seconds, which is awesome.
Her university coach has watched Smith blossom on the ice.
AUS champion last year,
4th in the country at youth sport, just a tremendous athlete.
The player knows sometimes people stare, especially kids.
I'm actually happy when people ask me questions about it and to spread awareness and everything.
In her 4th year at UNB, she's studying kinesiology with an aim to do a master's and become an occupational therapist herself.
Finding new ways and being adaptable is what I'm best at, and I feel like I want to help others find ways to accomplish things that they want to be able to accomplish in their daily lives, whether it be getting back to quilting after an accident or walking after a stroke.
Dedicated to showing others by doing.
I recognize that I do have a disability, but I don't think that it limits me in any way. I like to say, like, I put the ability in disability.
Sarah Plowman, CTV News.
Such an inspiring story. Still ahead, hockey in the great outdoors. The puck drops on a Canadian tradition that's become an international sensation. A timely hockey tradition is finally back on solid ice in New Brunswick after unseasonably warm weather canceled last year's edition of the World Pond Hockey Championships. Here's CTV's Nick Moore.
Plaster Rock, New Brunswick has a February tradition of welcoming the world to its backyard rink.
The ice is great. The best pond I've ever skated on is here in Plaster Rock.
The World Pond Hockey Championships began here in 2002.
I mean, it started out with pretty modest, just a local tournament, and then it just kind of exploded from there. We don't get to do this in Texas.
It's Kevin Turchette's 14th year traveling from the Lone Star State to take part.
It's great hockey. It's a childhood dream, pond hockey. Come up here, and it's a world-class organization.
Teams from Slovakia, France, the United Arab Emirates, and the Czech Republic are here as well.
The after parties is perfect.
With hockey players represented from almost every Canadian province, too.
It's a great time and good to see some old faces that I haven't seen in a while.
It's a dream here. You got people, you got hockey, you got good teams. There's nothing better to do.
This year, there's a total of 86 teams on the schedule, a rock-solid return to form. The event did not happen in 2024. The weather did not cooperate. And up until a few weeks ago, this year's event was on thin ice, too.
It was a challenge. I mean, winter just seems to start later.
Danny Braun is an organizer and co-founder of the gathering.
Here on New Year's Day, there was no snow, maybe an inch and a half of ice on the lake. Unfortunately, we got about 4 weeks of winter that we're used to, leading into the event.
To see this many rinks in one spot and this many people here playing has been really cool.
And while it is not an official rule, it would appear politics has been kept off the pond.
Great people, great event. Treated us really well, take good care of us. Just a lot of fun. Hockey players everywhere in the world are the same. These are some of the best.
The 4-day event will wrap up on Sunday. Nick Moore, CTV News, Plaster Rock, New Brunswick.
Looks like a lot of fun. That is our newscast for this Saturday night. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. I'm Heather Butts. Good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.